Ace king, fire away. That's pretty strong now.
Well, I mean, it's a small bet, no?
Okay, so you have to decide if you want to 4-bet call it off here, or if you'd like to call and play the check call game. Now, Tyrese is going to be 3-betting here with a wider range than Old Man Coffee. And as a result, you might just want to put pressure on that and plan on 4-bet calling it off. I might make it like 2.5 times what he 3-bet to, or a little bit larger since he 3-bet so small. So what would that be? It would be
120.
120 or 110 or so. And then we're calling it off. And we're not going to be happy, but we have the aces and the kings blocker.
Yeah.
And we're going to have enough equity to call it off. So, but we're just hoping that we don't really have to do that. Now, 7-6. I think you've gotten way better in position lately, and this guy's opening a little bit earlier, so his range has a little bit more inherent value, more stackability. So
he hasn't played too much hands so far with us, so he probably is also
right. So that's leaning me even more toward calling.
Yeah. All right. He checks into us.
Right. Again, now you have to ask yourself, like, could we bet a quarter of the pot to fold out some of his Broadway hands and force him to defend with ace high? In a tournament, I might elect to do that.
No.
Especially if I don't want to expose my stack to turn and river barrels.
No.
In a cash game, I'm fine with just checking back. That would be an interesting one to put into Snowy as well. I think Snowy would probably lean toward checking.
So he checks, and then Snowy says to, sort of mix check bet, basically.
Okay, and that's the half pot size bet. So I think, again, that bet percentage would go up if you could bet smaller.
Yeah, actually, for pot, he's saying that EV is slightly higher.
Well, but now if you pot it, you're planning on value betting on a 7 or a 6 and then turning your hand into a bluff if diamonds come off.
Yep.
Knowing that your opponent never has diamonds when he checks.
When he checks,
right. So both of those lines probably have a similar amount of EV, but potting it might be more fun.
Yeah.
So.
But we checked, right? And then the 5 spades showed up.
Right.
Yeah.
All
right. So 5 of spades. He checked into us again.
You're going to start to notice that there's a pattern of, like, if you start by betting, you're going to have optionality on turns and rivers. If you start by checking, it limits your options, and you can't bluff raise as much against opponents that are paying attention because you're just not going to be checking back with a set of 9s or a set of 6s that often. So it just handcuffs you a little bit by checking. But at the same time, like, you have to have some kind of checking range, and it's good to start with hands that have showdown value.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, let's play it out in an advanced poker training and just see what happens.
Yeah, so he's saying to bet here.
Oh, when checked to again?
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%.
Snowy always does that. Like, if you're defending, and I've noticed, like, pretty much every time, except when it's small blind versus big blind, because basically it will tell you to fire off the first time you're checked into on small blind versus big blind.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, in this spot, I think Villain has ace, queen, ace, jack, ace 10 a ton of the time, and I'd like to buy up that equity. And if you run into queens, jacks, 10s, the small percentage of the time that he has those, you still have a bunch of equity against that hand.
Yep.
And you could also possibly represent diamonds on the river.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fine with betting. Fold, great. Fold. Mission accomplished. So this is like a dual purpose bet. Now here, this is a spot where I'm okay with a 4-bet because you got the ace blocker, you got the 10 blocker, suitedness, small amount of straight potential, and you're playing against an opponent that has an abnormally wide 3-betting range.
Yeah, who's proven before to actually fold to our 3-bets also.
To your 4-bet with ace king.
So 4-bets, yeah.
So just 4-bet, take it down. And again, like you saved yourself from having to play this dangerous check call game that we've been playing.
Yeah. Fold this usually.
No. I mean, I'd go ahead and fire away with it. I'm fine with just potting it here.
All right. Well, that was uneventful. All right, we get called by the small blind, which is interesting.
No, you got called by the button.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad.
So there are 2 lines that I frequently take here. The first one is just to check, allow my opponent to stab the flop too often and call.
Yep, and call.
Right,
sure.
But that caps your range, and it can make it difficult to play against your opponent on a connected board like this, especially if he's good and aggressive in position. Mm-hmm. The other line you could take is to bet and either buy up the overcard equity that your opponent has or force him to float with it, intending to check call the turn. And it comes down to who I think I'm playing against. I think as a default, I probably check, but I think.
I mean, if we were building the graph, right, it'd probably be a check hand, right?
I think I would probably check with this about 75% of the time, and then bet with it about 25% of the time, and it would be opponent specific. So
the one benefit is the little kicker being the backdoor flush draw, backdoor straight, or backdoor straight.
Right. Well, the other thing you have to consider is if your opponent puts in a bet, let's say he bets 25 and you check call. The turn is going to be $91 in the pot, and check raising on good turns for you, like the Jack of Spades, isn't going to be great, but you would have enough equity to check call again, which might help your cause a bit.
Yep.
So I'm fine with checking.
All right.
Now you for sure have to lead this turn for value and protection. This is a spot where I typically don't believe my opponent because he would have had to deliberately check back the flop on a draw-heavy board with a set. Yeah. Really the only hand that makes sense for him to have it would be a set of 3s right now. Other than that, I feel like he usually has ace-high spades or hearts or something like 7-6, to which you have blockers.
Yep.
So I'm going to call here, and I might look silly doing it, but that's what I do. Now that card, it helps you even more because there are fewer combos of sets that your opponent can have, right? Yep. So at most, I think he could have 12 sets on the turn, but I think you have to at least cut that number in half, assuming that he would bet most of those on the flop, especially since the board is so draw heavy. Now on this river, it just decreases it even more because there's only one combo of 5-5 right here. So at most he could have 10 combos that beat you versus dozens of combos of flush draws that he could have raised with and missed. So I would be planning on check calling here, just assuming that my opponent would never try and value bet 10x in this spot.
You bet spot.
Yeah, I mean, you got to just go with your root here.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's just a crazy thing to do. I don't know why.
He basically went on the check. I checked, and so he bluffed.
Yeah, but he just didn't even have a draw, and he had showdown value.
Yeah.
So that's bad. But again, when you're playing against spastic 2-5 type players, occasionally you just have to kind of close your eyes and call on a spot like that.
Yep.
Jacks.
Re-raise?
I like the 3-bet a lot, blind versus blind.
Yeah.
Fold, that's fine. Just buy up all that equity.
Queen 7 here, probably not.
No, that's a call. You have to complete with all those suited hands for sure.
Oh, but is it a bet?
No, it's definitely not a raise. I think it's just a call.
Despite the guy limping, right?
Well, he's just giving you better odds, and you're going to capture enough equity with your $3 investment to.
That's right.
To be more plus EV than folding. So this is just like a check feel spot, I think.
Yeah.
Again, there's not really much reason to bet. So some of my students think that you should just lead small here and try and feel out where you're at. I don't like that, and I try and just break them of that habit. You should usually just check with your showdown value again. And now I'm calling because like Carlos's line isn't credible here. And now this would be an excellent spot to probably check raise as a bluff if your opponent bets again. Because it's like, does he really ever have
an ace?
Ace, queen, or ace, jack, or a set of fours, or king 10 or queen jack? Like he does some of the time. But
he does have like ace 3 or like crap like that, right?
I think I would lean toward believing that he has a lot more single pair hands than 2 pair hands. Now, the other thing you just have to ask yourself is, what can you represent on this board? Can you represent king 10 or fours? I think you can.
Yep.
So,
all right.
This is a lot more likely to work in a live game than it is versus this computer, I think. But I would probably make it like $165 here or something like that.
Oh, wow. He folds. It worked.
Okay. So I wish we had checked to see what he had there because I think he's folding like ace 7 or something.